Hey guys, it's Drew again. John over at Wade Boggs Fan wanted us to show off our favorite baseball card and talk about why. It's a little bit harder to pick out just one, but I got it down to three. I'm going to talk about them and then tell you why the one I picked is my favorite. Let's check it out. So John recently hit 1,500 subscribers, and he wants us to talk about our favorite baseball card, our casket card, the one that we want. If we had to sell everything off, the last one we would keep in our collection. And for a lot of us, that's a really, really hard task to figure out, including myself. So if you know anything about me, I'm all about the story. So it's not about the value of the card. It's not about the aesthetics of the card. It's all of it together, how I got it, who got it for me, the situation, who I was with or whatever. So I want to talk about three. If I went down my list of, say, my top 10 favorite cards, my 3, 2, and 1 would be the three cards I'm going to show you. Which one's my favorite? Well, stick around to the end and we'll figure it out. So the first one I want to talk about is a story card. Now, this one is one of the most, I guess, valuable cards in my collection, and one of the reasons it's my favorite is it's one of the ones that it's in the I can't believe I actually own this card, and it's a 1948 Leaf Stan Musial. Now I'm a big Stan Musial fan, and this, for any Stan Musial fan or collector of Hall of Fame rookie cards or anything, if you count this as his rookie, is just one of the best, and it's one of the ones that's sought after. And years ago, I was trying to get a Stan Musial run, and it wasn't very difficult except for the very first few. And I was able to come across this card on eBay, and the reason I was able to afford it is the back was at one point glued into a scrapbook or something, and it's got some paper loss, and it's kind of actually jacked up on the back, but the front just remains so pretty. And for Dylan, the centering on this card, fantastic. The color on this card, absolutely. The darker blue I like better than the lighter blue version of it. The red on it is just insanely good, and I just love this card. And it's one of the cards that when I come up to my pool room, or I'm sorry, my card room, and I look around, I look at this card all the time. It's in my case, and I look at it, and it's just that I can't believe that I own this card. So this is my first of the three that I want to talk about. It doesn't have the greatest story. It's just the fact that I actually own this card, and it's insane to me that I do. The second one I want to talk about, the last two I want to talk about are both story cards. They were both gifts given to me. The first one I want to talk about, I'm going to tell the story first. So I grew up a baseball fan, card collecting and all that kind of stuff, but I was pretty much on my own in getting my cards. I hear stories about guys where their moms took them to get cards or buy packs or whatever, and I didn't have that. And it was not that my mom wouldn't have done that. We just didn't have the money. It wasn't in our budget to do that kind of thing. And it's fine. I don't have any regrets for that. But as I got older and I really got into collecting, and I was getting in, and with the advent of eBay and online purchasing, you could buy cards at whim. Just look them up, just like we do now. We're so used to it. Before, it wasn't like that. You had to go to a shop or you had to go to a show in order to find a card or find someone in your neighborhood to trade with. Well, excuse me. Well, my mom wanted to buy me a baseball card because she knew it was in my heart as so bad. And she didn't know, but she knew that there was one card in particular that at the time was super hot. And when I show you the card, you're going to know exactly kind of the time period this was. And it was super hot and it was super popular, and for a card, especially from this era, it was kind of expensive. And so many things have happened since then to why this card is not expensive. It's not hard to find, and it's not highly sought after. But I still own it. I still proudly display it, and that's a 1990 Leaf Sammy Sosa rookie card. And of course, in 1998, with the whole home run chase between Sosa and McGwire, these cards, McGwire's 85 tops, and then this card were just so hot and so popular, and I was in that trend of wanting to get it. And I think this was probably about 2000 when my mom found this card, but she bought it online and she gave it to me for Christmas. And like I said, nowadays it's not worth a whole lot. You can find them by the dozens for just a couple of bucks probably. I haven't looked. But the reason I still keep this card in this plastic in a case, actually in the same case that my Stan Musial is at, they're both held in the same display case, is the fact that in 2008 my mom passed away suddenly, and this is the only card my mom ever purchased for me. And while my mom loved me and my mom did so much for me, it wasn't within my collection, but this is the only card that my mother purchased for me. And she made an effort to go on and find something, how to buy something on eBay. She didn't know who Sammy Sosa was. She didn't know what 1990 Leaf was. She didn't know any of that, but she figured out that this was a card that I would want in my collection. And she was absolutely right. So right now, this is my second of the three I want to talk about of cards in my collection that I would be the last one to get rid of. And the final one has another story, of course, and I've told this story before. But when I first got married, my wife really wanted to encourage and support my card collecting. And so for Christmas, for a few years, she would say, well, write down some cards and I'll see what I can find. So I had to get a very specific in the card, the year, the player, everything. And then what I felt I would spend on the card. And what my wife would do is she would take that number and she would usually double it. And because she knew that I would buy beat up cards with holes or writing on. And she thought, if you're going to get a card, you need to get something that's presentable. So there was one card that I had put down years ago when we were first married, and she was looking online, and I didn't know she was looking for this card. It was kind of my pie in the sky, shot in the dark. Maybe someday it'd be cool to own it, but I didn't think. And where our bedroom is right outside of our little office where our computer is. And I would be in bed reading or something, and I could hear her out in the office, and she'd say, "I'll be in a minute," and then she was waiting, and all of a sudden she would, "Oh no!" and she would come in all frustrated, and she'd go into the bathroom and say, "You okay?" She said, "I don't want to talk about it," and she would do that over and over, almost every single night. She'd be out there on the computer, and it turned out what it was is she was trying to win auctions for this card because losing. My wife she does not like losing. She wants to win, and she would lose card after card after card. Example of these cards, and she could not win an auction. And this is before we knew anything about sniping programs or anything like that. And but she finally ended up winning this card, and by doing this, she became a fan of this player. She researched the card. She wanted to know more about the thing, and she put effort into finding out why this card was a card that I wanted so bad. And the more that she found out about it, not through asking me, but rather through just finding out from other people or sources, she found out that this card was a card that was important within the hobby, and for any vintage collector, this was a card. And it's funny because now, and I own this card, I'm going to show it in a second, but now I see this card come up all the time. When people finally get their copy of it, they always show it off. If they talk about cards that they can't believe they have, they always show this one off. It's just one of those cards that is just wrapped in there and would be on a lot of people's list. And that card is none other than the 1953 Topps Satchel Paige. And my wife spent night after night after night losing auctions to get an example of this card that she felt was a better condition than the cards typically in my collection, and she got this card. So John, pick out which one of these three are my favorite cards. I mean, they all have different reasons. They all have different meanings. I can't believe that my mom actually spent time figuring out how to navigate eBay to find me a card. I can't believe that I actually own the 48 leaf Stan Musial, especially with such vibrant colors and centering. And I can't believe that my wife spent so much time finding this great card. But for today, and maybe tomorrow it'll be different, I'm going to go with my Satchel Paige. My wife said that, if I pass away before her and she sells everything, this is the one card that she would want to keep. And she's gotten me dozens of cards that I have, and I love every one of them. But this is the one card. She knows more about Satchel Paige than probably any other vintage player because she spent time researching and finding out who he was as a person, his story behind him, which is in that mythical level of who he was, what he could have done if he was only allowed to play in his prime, and the fact that this card holds so much meaning to her, it holds so much meaning to me, and that is the card that I would take to my grave. So John, congratulations on 1,500 subs. Congratulations on so much that you've done. Thank you so much for all you do within this community, the support, the quiet support that you give so many people. And I just really appreciate you. I appreciate what you do within this community. Appreciate you for this channel, for this contest. I hope this is what you're looking for. Everybody else out there, go check out John if you don't know who he is. But until next time, you guys be good.